We're continuing on. That last session, we were down $65. So I'm back over at bovada.lv. This is a practice session. I'm going to make sure our timer's set for 30 minutes. And we're going to go at it again. All right, full screen. And let's go. Again, I'm going to keep listening to some of the Trump hearings. Just let you watch. Let's see how we fare at the end of this round.
Ambassador Taylor's testimony based on his contemporaneous notes was...
I don't know if I got that from President Trump or I got it from Giuliani. That's the part I'm not clear on.
Well, Ambassador Taylor is quite clear that you said President Trump. Mr. Morrison is also quite clear that you said President Trump. You don't have any reason to dispute their very specific recollections, do you?
No, if they have notes and they recall that, I don't have any reason to dispute it. I just personally can't remember where I got it from.
And then you also told Ambassador Taylor in that same conversation that if President Zelensky, you told President Zelensky and Andrei Yermak that although this was not a quid pro quo, as the president had very clearly told you, it was, however, required for President Zelensky to clear things up in public or there would be a stalemate. You don't have any reason to dispute Ambassador Taylor's recollection of that conversation you had with President Zelensky, do you?
No.
And then you understood the stalemate referenced the aid, is that correct?
At that point, yes.
Ambassador Taylor also described a comment that you made where you were trying to explain what President Trump's view of this was. And you said that President Trump is a businessman. When a businessman is about to sign a check to someone who owes him something, the businessman asks the person to pay up before signing the check. Do you recall saying that to Ambassador Taylor?
I don't recall it specifically, but I may have.
And Ambassador Volker also said that you did. Okay. So, just to summarize here, by the end of the first week of September, before the aid had been released, you had expressed twice to the Ukrainians that you understood that the investigations needed to be publicly announced on CNN in order for the aid to be released. Do you recall that?
I didn't say that they had to be announced on CNN. The Ukrainians said to me or to Ambassador Volker, both of us, that they had planned to do an interview anyway on CNN and they would use that occasion to mention these items.
And that even though at some point you had calculated 2 plus 2 to equal 4, and therefore you believed that the aid was conditioned on the investigations, that you had a phone call with President Trump that you relayed to both Tim Morrison and Ambassador Taylor, whose accounts of that conversation you do not dispute, where President Trump confirmed that President Zelensky needed to publicly announce the investigations, or otherwise the obvious implication of the stalemate would be that the aid would not be released. Is that correct?
Again, the implication, I did not hear directly from President Trump that the aid would be held up until the statement was made. I did not hear those words.
With whatever Mr. Morrison and Ambassador Taylor testified to about the conversation you had with President Trump. Is that right?
Remind me again. I don't want to misspeak.
Well, you just said you have no reason to dispute their accounts based on their detailed notes.
Were they saying that I told them that President Trump said that the aid would not be released until the statements were made? Because I said repeatedly, I don't recall President Trump ever saying that to me.
Okay. I think what they said, if I can just finish this line of questioning, was that President Trump was adamant that President Zelensky himself had to clear things up, quote, clear things up and do it in public, unquote. So what they related was, although President Trump claimed there was no quid pro quo, he also made it clear to you in that call that President Zelensky had to, quote, clear things up and do it in public. You don't have a reason to dispute that.
I don't have any reason to dispute to clear things up and do it in public. What I'm trying to be very clear about was President Trump never told me directly that the aid was tied to that statement.
But in that same conversation you had with him about the aid, about the quid pro quo, he told you that President Zelensky had to, quote, clear things up and do it in public, correct?
I did not have a conversation with him about the aid. I had a conversation with him, as referenced in my text, about quid pro quo.
Well, the quid pro quo you were discussing was over the aid, correct?
No. President Trump, when I asked him the open-ended question, as I testified previously, what do you want from Ukraine? His answer was, I want nothing. I want no quid pro quo. Tell Zelensky to do the right thing. That's all I got from President Trump.
Did you also get from President Trump, as reflected by Ambassador Taylor, that he said he was adamant that President Zelensky had to, quote, clear things up and do it in public?
That part I can agree to, yes.
Time is now a minority for 20 minutes. I'm sorry, 33 minutes. 33 minutes.
So this is the pattern that starts to win for us. So right now we're finally seeing some profits after last session being down the entire game. This is a nice change.
Right. So if you want to get to the bottom of foreign aid, probably go to the people that are in charge of foreign aid here in this town, wouldn't you? Because you're not in charge of foreign aid.
I'm not in charge of foreign aid.
And you've had to testify that you presumed foreign aid was this or that, and you're guessing that this was tied to foreign aid. But there are people in this town who are in charge of the foreign aid. And in fact, I don't think it's very fair to you at all, or to us, or to the American people. You might be surprised that we had that person here in the Capitol in a secret deposition in the basement last Saturday. Now, that testimony might be pretty important to you before you're here to testify. If you could have read that, your lawyers could have went through that, because it may have clarified some more things for you about your recollection about the foreign aid. So, we heard about we had the chair looking at the cameras telling American people, talking about Watergate with their Watergate fantasies that they continue to, I guess they fantasize about this at night. And then they come here and talk about obstruction of justice because they're not giving you documents that you think you should have. So now they've laid out their clear Watergate argument or articles of impeachment. So I just have to remind the gentleman, I know we're not in a court of law because you wrote the rules, the chair here did, but I would think it's obstruction of justice to not give the American people and give the ambassador the right to look at the transcript of the man who's in charge of the foreign aid in this town. Now I could get into what he said, but the chair could release what he said. We're not even allowed to call that witness here today. So let's talk about things that we do know are facts. Okay, as best as I think you and I and most people know that President Trump does not like foreign aid to start with. Is that correct, Ambassador?
I've heard that, yes.
And you've testified that watching over the EU, you have 28 countries, you have neighboring countries that you work with. One of his biggest complaints is the lack of participation that those countries participate in programs around the world. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Especially NATO.
Yes.
Right? That's one of your, when you go down the list of the jobs that, when you get directions from the White House, when you first became ambassador, probably one of the number one things, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but on the top of the list was making sure countries pay their fair share, especially with NATO.
Yeah. And we have a very capable ambassador to NATO, so I'm not going to take her lane.
But it's one of that you work with those countries, it's one of the issues that you bring up in your meetings, correct?
It is.
So, now I know you weren't on the July 25th phone call, but one of the first things that the President of the United States brings up is Germany's lack of participation, making
days. President Germany.
All right, we're making some ground here. We're up 75. 75% of the way there. Let's see if we, well, that helps. If we get a nice little run, we can close this thing out quick with our $100 profit and go on with our day, right? Wow, look at that. $90. This is a personal choice. Shoot, I forgot what the last bet was. I sincerely did. Well, I think I was supposed to bet 15 actually. Ooh, look at that. Would have been a tie. So I just can't remember. I started talking and I got screwed up. Anyway, you'd have to make the decision. If you put your stop loss at $100, you have to ask yourself, is 95% of that goal good enough? I think at this point, the way I would play this, I'm just going to say yes, and I'm going to flat bet all the way through until there's a loss. But at this point, I've hit 95% of my goal. That's good enough for me. I'll take the win, right? So there's officially 100. Again, we're just going to flat bet. Not going to risk anything. When I'm on a streak, I don't get off the streak. Wow, look at that. So that brought in another 10 bucks. Just staying on the streak. Nice. See, if you didn't have a stop loss in effect, you would be taking advantage of this really good shoe. Jeez. Look at this pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, tie, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You all just witnessed a 10 streak in a row. What's interesting to note about this, if this same thing happened to us and we were playing my strategy here, our total loss would be $95. Pretty unbelievable, right? Can't play most any other strategy where you could go 10 in a row and lose 95 bucks. Let's see if it goes to 11. Oh, be damn. Look at that, 11. Okay, it's over. 11. So, stop loss, if you count your stop loss, you got out. I got out at $95. That's my personal preference. Remember what I said though, I never quit on a streak, right? So I've started flat betting. Just keep your bet down low and just follow it all the way out until you hit a loss, and then whatever you get is what you get. So this one will just be recorded as 115. I'm just going to round up and I'm going to stop counting the cents. So anyway, you all, that finishes us out. I'm going to give you the grand total where we're at right now. With the last session losing 65, our previous wins in round 1 and 2 were $144. So that left us with $79 profit. Okay, 79 plus 115. We're up $194. So $194 after 4 rounds. I'll see you guys on the next one. I hope you have a great day. We're going to continue playing on for 10 rounds to see if you want to take this to your online play or at a casino and try it out. If you do, let me know. If you got great success, then of course, you know, bow down to me and tell me I'm the greatest and how much you want to enrich my life by sending me some money. Just kidding. I'll give you my PayPal address and you can send me some cash. All right. Anyway, I'll see you guys on the next one. That was fun.